sir.
They care about this team. They care about each other. When you think about team chemistry, and I mean, I've been on a lot of good teams with great team chemistry, but it's where you really see it is either in your hardest workout or a really hot practice, and you see the guys that can sustain that energy the entire time. The reason they do that is because they're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for each other because they know that there's a bigger purpose. And you know, I can speak on just this off season. I've seen that, and that's fired me up.
We got work to do. We got work to do. Win your matchup. Here we go. Win your matchup.
And just the whole level of accountability where, like, yeah, guys are leading themselves, but they're reaching out and they're leading other people. I think that is where you find that team chemistry. I know what we need to do from a player's end here to get where we want to go. And I know that we left a lot on the table. For us, we just want to finish the job.
I wasn't going to say it, but we're fucking back. Like, what do you want me to do? I got goosebumps from that, man, boys and girls. I see somebody. Is it September yet? I'm fired up. I was juiced up because it's the best day of the week, but by golly, I am ready to rock and roll. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to, in fact, the best day of the week and another episode of High Top Sports. We've got a jam-packed show. I am beyond pumped for this. We've got, of course, our main man, Mr. David Swolderquist, ladies and gentlemen, looking better than ever. How you doing, big dog?
Doing good, man. High Top's growing. The stock is going up. We got High Top Texas now. It's officially going up and not trending downward like Life Wallet, like I said earlier today on Twitter. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah. People have to know. The ones who've been watching for a long time, they have to know that High Top Texas was always going to be in the works. It was always going to happen. So we are excited. That channel launched on Sunday with Laced Up with Lacey. She's incredible. So if you guys, obviously, if you want to go watch out some Texas stuff, you can. But I don't know if you will. But ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce our other co-host for the evening, Mr. Nick Delatorre. Nick, how you doing, big dog?
Doing good. Doing better after the Swolderquist flex off at the top of the show.
If
Graham Mertz didn't get you going, that's certainly good.
You got 32s over there, Nick. Yeah. He's
Hogan's jealous.
Yeah, you know.
Of course. Him and Ric Flair both.
Yeah, we were down at what's that place called? Pisano's. We were down there. I got him too drunk, and he got mad at a waitress or something.
Were you there?
I don't think that you could get Ric Flair too drunk. I think he would do that on his own.
Come on,
were you there, Nick?
I was not there.
Oh, okay.
I was not there.
We were talking a little before the show. Nick Delatorre repping the match hat. Love that hat. I also had to let him know about his Marlins and how well they're doing. You didn't think I was gonna let you off just that easy pre-show, so I had to make sure.
We're just a miserable franchise. We don't spend money and then trade our best player, but pay him. Just pay him to leave. We were actually Tuesday night. We were talking about all the Marlins trades, and how little they got back for like Stanton, JT Realmuto, Christian Yelich. Just a tough franchise to follow.
It's brutal. Those guys are three just catalysts, three pillars of their teams currently, and you had all of them close to similar at the same time. Somebody said you're welcome. We have Braves have Zuna. Obviously, you had him as well too. So yeah, it's tough. Look, all right, we'll move on. I can see it's hurting you a little bit. Look, we got a lot to go over. I want to talk about recruiting. I want to talk about the class as well, the portal news. But you wrote an article today about what you felt the best group, specifically the defensive group, which I think we all argue back and forth throughout the year what we think it could be. Linebacker is a room that I'm excited for, but I can't label it as the best. Defensive line, I think, shows a lot of promise as well. Where you got it, though, is the safeties, not the cornerbacks, but the safeties for your top group. And I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I think when you look at the safety group, Jordan Castell, nobody played more snaps than him last year, and he was a true freshman. Sure, there's some, growing pains. Sometimes, he takes a bad route, misses a tackle, stuff like that. But we're talking about an 18, 19-year-old kid playing against, in the COVID era, sometimes 23-year-old men. I think Jordan Castell, who we didn't see a lot of this spring because of his injury, is poised to have an even better sophomore year. And I would pencil him in as a starter. If you look at Florida's secondary last year, they just were young, and you would get young mistakes, and the defense as a whole suffered because of how young they were. So what do? You go out and you get Asa Turner, Traquez Bridges, you get DJ Douglas. These guys have thousands of snaps played, hundreds of starts, or nearly 100 starts. And I think Asa Turner slides right in, starts. And then the other interesting part too, I probably could have added the nickel position, because I think Traquez and DJ can also play nickel. And then you throw in Sharif Denson, you throw in Aaron Gates, two guys who I think are really good and have potential to start, or at least play a ton. So to me, it was a position where you had so many missed tackles, actually missed tackles leave through the transfer portal. But it was one of the biggest positions I think that Florida saw a need. They had young talent, but they needed, that quick fix that the transfer portal can provide, and they hit a home run here, in my opinion, with those three guys.
Bridges was somebody that I talked about where I thought he would end up, my projection at the beginning of the year, because he played cornerback at Oregon. When he talked about coming to Florida, he said, I think I'm going to be a safety, but that was before Asa Turner signed, and I think what DJ Douglas has brought to the table. And I had him playing more nickel, just given his size and the fact that he played that cornerback position. And you just mentioned that as well. Look, we're in a good place for the safety room. Do you see him playing? You agree with him playing more of that nickel, possibly just given the fact of what Castell we believe he will bring?
I think they can. To me, it made sense. You've got a ton of tape on DJ Douglas playing nickel. You've got tape on Traquez Bridges playing nickel and playing somewhere else. You've got a redshirt freshman and a freshman who barely played last year.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get them in the spring. We know what these other guys, these transfers can do. We have tape for days on them playing this position. Let's put them at safety, give all the reps to these two young guys who, I mean, if someone twists an ankle or hurts a knee, we're going to have to end up starting these guys. Let's see what we have there. So to me, it's not set in stone that Bridges or Douglas are only going to play safety. I think they're versatile enough to play both, but it makes some sense in the spring to see what you have from the young guys, get them reps and let them grow.
Agreed. And Sharif Denson, I think, looked pretty good last year, the time that he did play. And Aaron Gates, obviously, he's moving into this, so it's raw to him. Mm-hmm. I spoke to you before the show. I said, look, Jordan Castell was our breakout star last year, and for good reason. My question was for you was, do we feel he still will be this year and step up, or he still will, but because the talent around him is going to be so much better, he may, in a sense, step back, but for good, in a good way, right? Not because he's stepping back. It's just the talent is now elevated even much more around him.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't think he'll step back, but I think you make up a good point. And if I say it, it would be a negative Nick, but like you could have, worse stats, but the group as a whole plays better. Sure. You kind of talk about that when you think of like cornerbacks, and you're like, well, man, he didn't have any interceptions. And if you go and like look at it, you're like, well, he was getting targeted twice a game. They just like forgot about the side of the field that Vernon Hargreaves was on and focused on the other 3/4 of the field. So I think that could be the case. I think he's going to be a starter. And even in the black jersey was running with the first team in the spring game until they got him out of there. So I expect a big season from Jordan Castell. It's hard to get that kind of experience, those reps that you got, and not be better for it. You were thrown into the deep end without swimmies, without floaties, and we're just told like, hey, find your way back to the steps. And I thought he did.
Good that he learned. At least he figured it out. That's what usually kids do.
Yeah.
So. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, baby steps. Yeah, I was just say baby steps, but yeah, I do like the combo of Asa Turner and Jordan Castell there as starters. I also like DJ Douglas, especially what we've heard from what he's done in the spring. Obviously, with all the snaps that he's had over there coming from Tulane, and then of course, Jaquise Bridges, the kid from Oregon. I think this is the most talent we've probably had at safety in a very, very, very long time. So I would expect that position group just to improve overall, just from an experience standpoint, and from these kids transferring in. Also, kind of a sleeper guy. I know that he's not going to start or anything like that. But I actually like Gregory Smith III that we got from this class as well. I mean, I think he was a very athletic type that, he kind of rose in the rankings kind of late. I think he came on late in the cycle, and you just don't know. You don't know what you're going to get from those types when they come into your class. So I think right now, like, it's looking pretty good at safety. Like, I can't sit here and say that, like, okay, if you had one injury or something like that and somebody couldn't play a couple games, I can't say that, like, oh man, we're doomed. Because before we were,
Yeah.
now we're not.
Yeah, it was like Will Muschamp took over the recruiting, and you got 3 safeties in the portal.
Yeah.
Used to have 18 safeties on the Will Muschamp Florida team, but yeah, I think there's a lot of depth, and really you're getting a ton of experience. And these guys, like I said, listen, Asa Turner didn't come 2,000 miles away from where he was in college, starting, playing a ton for Washington to be a coach and watch these young guys play. He came to start. I think he's earned that this spring, and I think it's invaluable for the defense. They put a lot on the safeties. It's kind of like a quarterback, middle linebacker, and your safeties are kind of like the quarterbacks on defense, making sure everyone's where they need to be. And I think you're getting a lot. You have a ton of young talent, and then you add this veteran leadership as well. And I think Gregory Smith I think he played all over the field, mostly on offense in high school. So kind of learning the position. He's already added, I think I went back and looked and was like, my note on him before or on signing day was he needs to add weight. I think he already did that in the spring. It's crazy, when you watch these guys and they're 17, 18, they've never really like eaten right. You're trying to eat whatever mom's got at the house. And you kind of just lift weights casually or for fun. And then you get into like a program where the nutrition's taken care of and you're on like a strict workout regimen, and then 15 pounds on you real quick.
It is very interesting to see how these kids show up and they just blow up in a good way. And Gregory Smith was somebody that I've been excited about. He skyrocketed to a 4-star at the end of the 2-4-7 cycle. And like you said, he was playing quarterback. So this position's new to him. And something that you mentioned too, the quarterbacks of the team, the quarterback, middle linebacker, and the safety, all 3 veteran guys, Graham Mertz, Shamar James, and now Asa Turner. You got to like that. The 3 core parts, and even the defensive line you can kind of throw into there with Cam Jackson and Joey Slackman. There's just a lot of veteran presence that it did not have at all last year. But you're also bringing back a lot of young talent, which that's got to be exciting for us. And I love where this conversation's headed, because we have a whole segment that we're going to talk about for reason for optimism. But go ahead, Dave. I saw you had something to say.
Oh, I was just saying, it's amazing like how much weight these kids can put on within a short amount of time. It just reminds me of like the testosterone levels of like the 18 to 22-year-old kids, man. It's just, that's why old people don't play football.
Well, unless it's for Arkansas, right? So there's always there's always an opportunity, boys. Don't ever quit on your dreams. Real quick, Nick, little side chat. What was your favorite Masters memory this time around? Probably your 10th time going.
Yeah. I went in 2019, the year Tiger won. My favorite memory then was we were there on a Wednesday for the par 3. So to be able to see those legends tee off. This year, favorite memory, I think it was we just got lucky. We would like walk up to a tee box where nobody was there, and all of a sudden Scotty Scheffler's like walking up to the tee box, and we're just like feet away from him. It was Justin Rose. We were on the long par 3. And me and my buddies were talking, and we were like, man, I wonder what he's hitting. And I just like shouted at him, like, Justin, what was that? And he turns around and goes, 6. I was like, okay. Just reporting news. Just reporting news from Augusta. That was a 6-iron from Justin Rose, in case you wanted to know. Anyone out here?
Next time you play it, now you know what you should be hitting. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you ever have an extra ticket, just hit him on Twitter. No big deal.
You heard him. He was just out there reporting news, man.
That's it.
I like we did that. All right, let's
news and drinking beer.
Let's dabble into the portal talk here. What's going on with the Badger, Nick? He's set to visit. There's a lot of talks on the injury play. I want to get your overall thought and opinion of this I guess, second cycle of the portal as well too. We've had everyone kind of talk about it. I want to get your opinion. It feels like this is kind of our last little push here for Elijah Badger, unless there could be more wide receiver options. But what's going on with Badger, and then how do you feel Billy did this last cycle?
Yeah, I read a really interesting article. I think it was Football Scoop, and they were talking about the portal and the NIL. And one of the quotes was, "There's less talent in the spring portal, but the money's better for the players that go into the portal."
Mm,
And it's interesting because like I I really went hard, I think, on the coaching staff last cycle in the spring because I didn't think they really attacked that spring portal hard enough. And from talking to Billy, I think I can finally say it because he said it on record, but he had told us off the record, we just don't think there's a lot of talent in that second portal, and there's more, I guess, there's more damaged goods. It's you're probably buying those dented cans more so in the spring than you are in the winter portal. That being said, I think if he's healthy, which is becoming a question mark, how is his back? Elijah Badger is a guy who, in my mind, that's the exact type of receiver that I wanted to see Florida at least go after, if not sign. I think the receiver room right now, obviously Trey Wilson's going to be a starter. And then you've got Khalil Jackson and DK next to him. So it's like, that's okay. Those guys are fine. They're not bad receivers, but do they keep defensive coordinators up worrying about them? Or do you just spend your entire time, hey, how do we take Eugene Wilson out of the game?
sure.
And if this other guy can beat me, sure, fine. And I go back to the 2020 season. Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney were so good. And then Pitts gets the concussion against Georgia. And now the defense is like, okay, well, we don't have to pick which one we want to take out of the game. We just focus on KT. And it became easier to stop Florida and defend Florida. So I wanted Florida to get to a place where they could get somebody else in the receiver room where you have to at least worry about them or spend some time on them. And I think Badger could be that kind of player if he's healthy. And Florida is big on character guys, and I'm sure they're going to be doing a background check. And is he a high character guy? So to me, on the field, the answer is yes.
Okay.
I don't have all the answers off the field, but getting him on campus, that's the first stop, or how you start, and then you got to figure out some roster management because you're at 85 right now.
So you kind of dropped a lot of nuggets there that I want to kind of nibble on here for a moment. So, which I love. So you mentioned something about a character guy, and somebody even said that, Napier and the guys, it seemed to kind of attack things, a certain way, and you can kind of tell the way, especially for the recruiting class. We'll see guys come, and then all of a sudden, recently here with Peyton Joseph situation, decommits kind of out of the blue, and there's rumors, and we're not going to get into it because I'm not here to try to bash or trash anybody, but there's rumors of like, yeah, he had issues at a school, things like that, and it's almost like there's a zero tolerance of like, if you're already having issues, I have zero, I don't care how great you are, this isn't going to work. And so you're saying like do it a background check, and sometimes we see Billy and these guys kind of miss out on it. We hear that it's grades or it's this, but it could be the background check just didn't go through, and it's like you said, we're already dealing with damaged goods as it is. And if I get one tally mark here, it's just not worth it. The guys we've got, I'd rather work with these guys. Is that kind of the consensus that Billy's operating, especially in the portal?
Yeah, I think interesting. So like baseball is a little bit different, and Kevin O'Sullivan was always worried about using the transfer portal because it could affect your clubhouse and can affect your locker room. And I think Billy and his staff hit on a couple guys in their minds last year. And then those guys came in and were terrible in the locker room. One of them was from Texas, and he's back out, was spent a year, and he's gone. And so I think even more so now, you've got a team, listen, they haven't won a lot of games, but they believe in the message and they believe in the program. Clearly from listening to Graham Mertz, they believe in it. Do you want, like, hey, on the field, yes, if we could just pick this guy up on Friday, Friday night, and then bring him to the field Saturday, and he's great, yeah, we take him, but he has to be around the team all the time. And how does he fit? Is he a culture fit, or will he make the culture in the locker room worse? And this isn't just Elijah Badger specific, but I think based on what happened with Florida and some of the guys they got last year who did not fit, that it's definitely on their mind right now as they're going through, the spring portal.
Does the name rhyme with Ika and Guzuka? Is that who?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
just,
think so.
yeah. So look, and what's interesting is people are like, oh, like it's one position, but you could see it. You could see the disdain that he had when he was on that football field. And you're only as strong as your weakest link, especially on the offensive line. And so a lot of people kind of hated the production of Damian George, which I felt he played out in the incorrect position all year long, which we've learned that now given his rotation headed into this year. I think he's going to have a great year. But I love the fact that he was able to stay because at times when he did play in that guard position, he looked much better. But I like hearing clearly he wasn't a locker room problem, just a production on the field problem. But they felt good enough of like, look, we can make you better. We know we can. We just need to make some adjustments. Because when Mazuka left, everyone was kind of scratching their head. I said it, given the fact of what happened before the season started, that it wasn't completely shocking. It was almost like, again, knowing this now and seeing the timeline, when Mazuka left, there was already an issue. But Billy was kind of, his back was against the wall, and the season probably would have been a lot worse. So he kind of probably bit his tongue, if I had to guess, and said, look, it's too late for you to screw me over. So let me put my ego aside. Let's make this thing work, and then we'll figure it out at the end of the season. Obviously, we know how it ended.
But shout out to him. Much respect for hearing the bell ring and getting ready to throw hands against Tennessee.
Yeah, he earned Florida.
That is the energy I want from an offensive lineman, though.
Yeah, he earned all of our love. I think he'll always have a place in our heart for ready to throw down. So there's no hate here. But go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was going to say, you also heard ETN. Actually, I think there was an interview that ETN had when he was still on the team saying something about, like, hey, handing Mazuka the ball or something like that. He's like, just let me do my job or something like that. But then we had Jimmy Crawshaw on last week, and he was talking about how, look, Napier had to deal with some players that weren't good for the roster. He thinks he's eliminated those. Now he thinks the team cohesion, just everything in the locker room is a lot better. If you haven't heard that interview, obviously it's on High Top from last week, but you're even hearing it from the players about how everything's getting better in the locker room. And is it a risk to take somebody that you really do need if he does qualify and all that, if he may have some attitude issues or not? That's something Billy Napier's going to have to figure out.
Yeah, that's like it's like the scales of justice. Like how do you measure those things out? I usually use that analogy when I talk about like what is a win-loss record that would be palatable. And it's like, all right, well, if you go 7-5, but the 5 losses are like blowout losses at Texas, Miami, Florida State, Georgia, like that doesn't feel the same as maybe even going 9-3 with like an upset win and some close ones. So like, you can definitely lose. So like if you look at the portal, what left, I think really the only 2 guys and that Florida fans were concerned about were probably Princely, but judging by his Twitter mentions, most Florida fans had washed their hands clean of Princely Uwemaielen, and then Trevor. And I don't know that anyone in the locker room was upset when Princely left. Now Trevor is a different story, but I think Trevor is even going to be worse I said this at the time, Trevor Etienne hitting the portal, Georgia regardless, is worse for the perception of the program than it will be for the production of the program. And I think my guy Jaden Baugh must like me. He must have heard that comment and says, you know what, Nick, I'm going to go out and ball this spring, and people will think that you were right. So much love, appreciation to Jaden Baugh.
So a couple things. The Princely thing, we're in a weird position because we've had Princely on, there's no bad blood with anybody, but there's egos sometimes that don't fit into cultures, into locker rooms. And that's kind of what I was stating. I've even said, I don't think Billy would recruit me. My personality probably wouldn't fit with this vibe.
No.
That's not like a negative shot even towards anybody. It's just a flow, right? I talk about it with Jimmy Johnson, how he managed bigger egos, right? And then you've got what's the coach from the Giants that went to the Jaguars? It's slipping me at the moment, but Coughlin ran a much more tight ship, right? Which I kind of similar to what Billy is. So those personalities just wouldn't collide. But Princely was somebody I said, like, when we saw him leave, we didn't hear much about like, hey, please don't leave. But when Trevor left, there was a ton of conversations and how can we make this work? Let's figure this thing out. But Princely was like, yep, I'm out. And it's like, it never even tried to bring it back. It's like, look, great production. Wish you but the luck, but it's more of a headache than it's worth. And that's just kind of where it's going. So interesting stuff. It's refreshing to hear things like, because then we're from the outside kind of looking in, just trying to read the tea leaves, figure things out. You kind of get a pulse in their perspective. So when you just say that,
I mean,
we were right.
I mean, like good. They would totally let me on the team. I have a great attitude.
Yeah. What about the GPA? Would you bring the team GPA up or down?
I don't know if you would pass the physical.
I don't know about all that, but I mean,
I love it.
Dave's an athlete student, not student athlete.
Yeah, there we go. I just report the news. That's it. Just report the news.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, okay, thanks for those updates on the Badgers. So it's just something kind of we're going to keep an eye on. Would you agree that look, it's a yes basically? I think in production wise, it's just coming down to more so probably a yes from both sides. It's just hey, these two boxes I need checked. Are you healthy enough, and is there any reason to be concerned from your background check?
Yeah, I think that's it. And you get them on the recruiting visits are crazy. I've had a coach tell me like, hey, we don't need 48 hours for an official visit in the portal. We might need 48 minutes. Like, hey, here's the NIL deal we can offer you.
Wow.
You don't need to see the classroom. You don't need to see this. Like, there's a lot of portal guys that it's just a business transaction.
Yeah. That's what it looks. It's felt like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, forever a Gator. It's not Vol for life. It's not this. It's like, hey, how many commas are in the offer? And let's do this or let's not do this. So I don't know if that's him. This is just, talking to coaches who are probably exasperated with the entire NIL and transfer portal period because they're losing power that they used to have. But yeah, I think just getting him on campus, you get to interact with him. You send him out with your players at night to show him the town, then talk to those players. Hey, what was he like? What was your vibe on him? Would he fit our locker room? Would he fit our culture? And that's a question only the players can answer.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the locker room is just going to be dictated by your leaders and by the people in there. And you can coach and the coaches can say whatever they want. But like the players aren't going to tell the coaches everything they're doing. And you might need to rely on some of your leaders, the guys you trust in the locker room, to really tell you what a guy's like.
So we've criticized Billy. I myself just his tortoise-like movement in the portal, and it could be kind of what you're stating right now is that yes, there's a business deal, but it sounds like he's probably trying to fish guys out a little bit. He'll have them hang out with, like you just said, with the guys and maybe do a little more in-depth research because I feel like we don't close guys. And I've been saying this, like at the portal, if you look around, it's like they visit and they sign. Like it's like if I'm heading here, that school seems to be like, we're going to lock it in where Billy's like, all right, appreciate you stopping by. We'll get back to you. It's like, dude, you got to sign them because they're just going to go get signed by somebody else. But he's like, look, if you trust, it's almost like a trust thing. Hey, if you trust me give me a day to do my process. If you go find somewhere else, this wasn't going to be a fit in the first place. And some people not like that, but that's just marching to the beat his own drum. And that's the way it is. Whether right or wrong, we'll find out in August.
I think the process needs to be a little bit faster, though.
Nick,
listen, he does not move like a coach who believes he's coaching for his job this year, and I've found that interesting. And I know we're going to get into the recruiting class as a whole, but like the recruiting class was really good. And I think I said something like after the year, I was like, DJ Lagway can save Billy Napier's job, but he has to save it long enough to get to DJ Lagway. And just watching the way that they're moving, it doesn't seem like Billy Napier thinks I'm coaching for my job in 2024.
I think there's good and bad to that because it's the confidence and the mindset of like, I know I trust what I'm doing and I'm not going to alter just because everyone else outside looking in is panicking. Did it not go exactly the way we wanted year one and year two? Sure. But ultimately we've made the steps that we've wanted to do. And we've cleaned up the areas that we needed to clean up. And I trust the process that we're on. And again, I've become a Billy robot because I've listened to him, but you can't help but trust him because he walks with it and you have to. And that's what I say too all the time. People get mad like, oh, he's not reacting or doing this. You don't want your leader to react. You don't want your leader to be this emotional up and down guy like we think we do. But trust me, it's not a recipe for a healthy combination. So,
yeah, Deion Sanders.
So let's go over the recruiting class here a little bit because, like you just alluded to, that he's not really moving quickly. And I felt like recruiting this year seems different with kids kind of moving a little bit slower. It feels like we're ramping up for a big June again for official visits. His past classes, 13th last year, 13th in 2023, 18th in 2022. That 2024 class kind of has an asterisk by it, given the fact that we landed those three guys in Jason, DeAndre Robinson, and Grimsley from the 2024 class, but they're considered as portal guys. So that class finished, I would argue, healthier than the other classes. So all three of his recruiting classes have improved. My question is, from what you've seen and what you heard, do you feel that this class, I've been wondering, are we recruiting the same way? Are we attacking this how they have been? They've kind of got to figure it out, or have they made some adjustments? What are we thinking here, especially with the portal and how it finished last year? Are we going to play behind the eight ball a little bit?
I like the way they've recruited high school, and it's different strokes for different folks. Like you look at Mike Norvell at FSU, they attack the portal, and their high school recruiting is getting better, but Billy and his staff don't view the portal as the primary means of recruiting. It's we are going to build our program through high school recruiting, and we will supplement and fill holes as we need to in the transfer portal. I like the class. And I mean, when you look at it, I think you've got a bunch of guys who are impact players right away. I think Miles Graham's an impact player right away. I think McCoy is a impact player right away. DJ Lagway is not an impact player right away, only because you have a 23-year-old, sixth-year senior quarterback
Heisman favorite. Go ahead,
who put me and everyone else that was questioning Billy, like, what are you doing replacing Anthony Richardson with a Big Ten quarterback? Put all of us in our place with the way he played last year. But yeah, I think when you look at it, they also have great evaluations. Like Jaden Ball, no one was really on him, or in a big way. Was committed, I think, to Arkansas, and then all of a sudden Alabama comes through, and I think the evaluations that Billy and his staff do almost remind me of like Jim McElwain, where Jim McElwain Florida would be like one of the first schools to offer somebody, and you'd be like, rival fan bases would be clowning Florida fans because like, look at you offer this 3-star nobody from Alabama, and then a month later he had Georgia offer, Texas offer, USC, Ohio State, and it was like, oh, Florida's just the first on them. So I think that's another thing. This coaching staff, Billy in particular, loves watching tape, and I think that's going to lead to early evaluations and getting on guys early. And quite frankly, Florida, like, we're all a little bit older. I was in high school when Florida was winning championships, and then they won another one my freshman year of college. The guys who are 16, 17, 18 right now, maybe they know Tim Tebow, but they don't know that Florida's good. And I think getting in early in a recruitment will help, because the guys watching that are signing now remember Georgia being really good. They remember Alabama obviously being really good, and Clemson. Sure. Like the Swamp Kings that I watched, that I grew up, like that's the Florida that I remember. Like these kids just think that's a Netflix show.
So
yeah,
go ahead, Dave.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, and I think you kind of like, I don't know what the recruiting class looks like on 3. Maybe it's ranked 8th with all the transfers added into it. I think you kind of lucked out with Jason Zandamela there and Jameer Grimsley as well. I mean, they kind of just fell in your lap because of Nick Saban and then Zandamela wanting to come back home. So you really kind of lucked out with a couple of guys in that 2024 class as well through the portal. I think it is healthy. I mean, as from like a player average standpoint, the talent's a lot better. Like when you look at it, compared to Dan Mullen, compared to Jim McElwain, the average player ranking is a lot better. Combine it with some good transfer portal players, maybe that have a couple of years as well. Of course, you want to fill out your class to 25. I think that's the big ultimate goal there. But if you can combine that with some decent portal players that have some years on them, I think it isn't that bad when you look at it. So the portal's changed a lot. I mean, it's literally changed a lot. You can sign a recruiting class. The kid can sign his letter of intent and then immediately transfer to your team if he just isn't happy at all. So I think like the recruiting classes, they still matter, but they don't matter as much as they used to. And it's kind of how I think of it anyway.
I'd be interested to get your guys' opinion. I asked Dan and Silk on Monday on Stadium and Gale, has the transfer portal taken the shine or taken the spotlight or the enthusiasm off of high school recruiting in your guys' minds? Because of that, like Florida lost out on Jameer Grimsley. They lost out on Jason Zandamela. Weren't even really in it for Jason Zandamela as a high school recruit. And then you get him back. And it's just how easily players can move around and transfer, has it taken some of the excitement out of signing day in the high school class? And I think splitting signing day up into two different days has kind of taken some of the shine off of it. But to me, and I don't follow recruiting as closely as I used to, but it does seem that like there's less excitement around recruiting. And I wonder if it's because of just what you were talking about, Dave. Like literally, Jameer Grimsley went through a couple bowl practices, had that great quote that like Florida's hard on their coaches. One thing about Alabama, is Nick Saban's always going to be there. That lasted 30 days and Nick Saban was gone. And then he's wearing orange and blue. So to me, I think maybe the way that players are moving now can take away some of the excitement. It's like you don't even know on signing day. Once the NLIs are in, you don't know if that player is going to be on your roster in the fall.
It's definitely muddied the waters for sure. We've actually talked about it. Even look, we haven't really this time last year, I felt like we were more in tune with the recruiting class, and we're slowly kind of leaking into it now. Jubilee weekend, we'll have fun. We'll have a good time. It's fun to always enjoy it. I know some people didn't really follow recruiting at all because people would hop on them like, it doesn't matter until they sign. And now it's like, well, they can still sign and it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's definitely killed it a little bit, but I think I can defend, I think what Billy is trying to do is go after guys that are committed to the program. Like, look, this isn't hey, you come in and you figure this thing out. And so we may not always sign these big flashy classes, but we're not dealing with 3 or 4 guys leaving 2 or 3 months later either, which I think that kind of gets overlooked given how many people did enter into the portal that recently just signed. Florida didn't have any issues to come this period, meaning that everybody that did sign was completely bought in and, wanted to be a part of the program. So yeah, it's definitely.
And the other thing about this staff too is if you go back and look at some of those Mullen classes, they were ranked higher, but go and look at like the bottom of the class. There's 3-4 guys a year who were included in that top 10 ranking that never made it to campus. And I think there was just a lot of fluff added to the Mullen classes that would get you ranked a little bit higher, but never gave you anything meaningful. Never gave anything meaningful to the program, other than a nicer ranking on recruiting services.
Yeah, I kind of want to bring up something too. I wasn't around covering this back then, but Nick, I know you were. In 2015, do you remember Byron Cowart? Remember there was a hang up with his national letter of intent, right? And a lot of people were like, oh, maybe he's reconsidering Florida. What if the portal would have been around and he had signed with Auburn and then like had a change of heart and then he just immediately transferred to Florida?
Yeah, I mean, the Oregon, he kept saying Oregon was in his top something, and Oregon kept sending packages. Smart kid to continue including Oregon in the pre-NIL days. But yeah, I think Byron Cowart would have gone somewhere else for sure.
It's the wow. I hope there is. Look, I don't mind it. I think that you've seen some kids kind of come from the lower ranks. I think I want to say it was Oregon. Oregon just landed themselves a cornerback. We have an Oregon channel, and I want to say they landed a kid that wasn't really highly recruited coming out of high school, went to a small school, but one of the best cornerbacks in the country. So the portal in that sense is good for the game and for the players. So there's a sweet spot.
Look at Dante Moore. Went to UCLA, now he's at Oregon.
Yeah. So his story isn't really like a grinding it out kind of story.
Yeah, he's a real underdog, Dave. Under recruited. No one really paid attention to him.
This kid was a 2-star, and now he was the most highly touted cornerback, and as a sophomore, that's how much of an impact he had.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So give me.
Sounds like Caleb Williams being like, everyone's always doubted me. I'm like, you were the number 1 quarterback in high school.
Yeah, just because you painted, just because you said they hate. Just because you painted they hate me on my nails doesn't mean they actually hate you, Caleb.
It was like I remember when Stetson Bennett said that. Everybody doubted us. Dude, you're the number 1 team in the nation. Nobody was doubting you at all.
That was Kirby's work.
That's
Do you feel this class? I mean, does it feel like it's heading in the right direction again? Or I mean, look, I say again because I think last year's class ended up very, very well. I mean, the way what we just talked about. Maybe on paper it wasn't as flashy like we said, but you look at the quality, it's incredible. And I think, does it feel like it's going down that same path and they're making those same powerful moves?
Yeah, 100% in my mind. You've got your future quarterback, LJ McCray's a guy who I think can play. Miles Graham's a guy who I think, if he didn't have the pre-existing back injury, might have push Pup Howard in my mind for that starting spot next to Shamar. Katie Daniels can play. They think Fletcher Westphal might be able to play this year, a future starting left tackle.
Wow.
We talked about Gregory Smith. You needed to add more speed. You added speed at with TJ Abrams and Tank Hawkins. I think Teddy Foster is going to surprise people. I think this class overall was really good. I would have liked to maybe get a higher ranking, but then are you just chasing stars? A higher ranking offensive lineman with Fletcher Westphal, but they like Mike Williams. They like Noel Portagine. And we still haven't even seen Aaron Childs, Amir Jackson, and Marcus Mascall,
True.
Join the team as well. And Aaron Childs is a guy I think that Florida expects to be in the mix and be a starter, sometime in the near future.
Good stuff. Let's look. So Nick, I don't know if you've heard, but everyone's got Florida going 15-0. The optimism for this team is unreal. I constantly see that we're back. Gators by a million. I don't know where it's coming from. It's insane. But no, in now actuality, there is a lot of, I feel like, beat writers, and I even commented on three guys. I feel like the optimism out of y'all's camp seems to be a little more upbeat. There is more articles. You've got ESPN analysis kind of saying, hey, don't sleep on the Gators. Could it be? I know that they're a hot topic. Everyone loves writing about them and talk about them because who's not going to click on it? It's the big national brand. But the hardest schedule in football history, and everyone's saying Billy's back's against the wall, but everyone still is like, look, this team's kind of talented and could surprise all of us. What's going on, Nick? What? I mean, I've been telling y'all this. Nobody wanted to listen, but is everyone just watching the show? Is that what's happening, or what's going on?
I think Florida's roster is better this year than it was last year. The schedule is going to be brutal. If you go back, and I've said this a couple of times, if you change the outcome of one game in each season, we are talking about Florida in a completely different light. If you don't lose to Vanderbilt in your first year, a game you should not have lost. If you don't lose to Arkansas last year, a game you should not have lost, we're talking about Florida completely differently, and talking about Billy Napier completely differently. That Missouri game, man, I was 10-0 with my picks until Missouri. That 4th and 17 got me. I think Florida, there is reasons for optimism, but you still have to put it together on the field. Procedurally, we saw more issues in the spring game, which I think got people hot and bothered. But you're going to have to do it. And to me, the spring is always a time for positive stories. No one's playing bad in the spring. That's when you get your excitement. When Billy Napier opens the door for Josh Pate to come in, he's not going to have a lot of bad stuff to say. You're getting one-on-one time. You're getting to hear the coach talk about his vision and how the team is executing that vision. You're talking to players who are only going to give you positive quotes. So I think, there's reasons for optimism, but I think those are kind of the reasons why it's being talked about, is the access that Florida's allowed some of these national guys in. And I think Florida and my guy J.D. Piquel will probably do something similar. So you'll get another run of that. But it's good. Like Florida, I've told them, like, you guys need to be open and have more. If you're not winning games on the field, try to win the battle of perception. And I don't think Florida's done that well. Maybe they're starting to win the battle of public perception here. I think the team is better, but the schedule is brutal.
Well, so basically you're saying, like, we're scoring touchdowns, but there's no one to score against us right now. That's why it feels good. So which is positive. And look, I will say, I feel like I feel like the staff and Napier haven't done this year. They haven't done the best of allowing people in. It feels like we're kind of trying to look through the blinds, and I think the Josh Pate interview was helpful. We got some things we didn't like out of the interview, as we always do, but ultimately we were at least able to get some more insight that we haven't had. A different style of interview, a different type of conversation. It felt like he was more comfortable and open, and you're saying Pickle might have an opportunity to do that. And I think JD conducts his interviews much different than Josh Pate does, so that'll be fun to watch, and maybe he'll pull some more out of it. I will say Napier is a straight shooter. It's hard to get that guy to sway off the ship any which way, so I don't know how much more we're going to get from him. But
yeah, he the one thing I've learned from him is he might not tell you like the whole truth, but he's not going to outright lie or be deceptive. So you might have to read between the lines. And I think as we get to know him better, like the local beat, were able to kind of do that. But like, it's always funny, after like a Monday press conference, people are like, he didn't say this. And I'm like, well, if you like look at the way he's answered, he's didn't want to throw a player under the bus, but he's told you without telling you the answer to that. So you kind of have to read between the lines. But yeah, it's not a Lane Kiffin press conference.
I become a Billy Decipher. I would like to say I'm an expert because
Okay.
when I do a recap of his interviews, I'm like, guys, if you take a look, it's like the Bible, right? Like I feel like when God's typing it, right? Like he gives you a whole bunch, but there's a few things you're trying to pull through there. It doesn't give you the full bread and potato. So you got to find it. And I've learned some things go over my head still. But like you said, if you watch enough of them, he'll give you like a 3-part series. But by the third interview, you get your answer finally. It's like thank God that guy asked that question because I've been waiting for the trilogy to close here. It's funny that you said that. So it's very refreshing that I'm not just some crazy lunatic over here just assuming this shit. So thank you for confirming my nonsense.
There you go. Yeah, and look, like I don't want to get off the topic. I wanted to get my stuff in here, Sheldon. I know you. You're like the Energizer Bunny, but I mean, like you look at it too. Like the first half of that season, you're playing a lot of new quarterbacks and a lot of new systems, right? What if you can get through that first half of that schedule and build up your momentum towards that second half of that schedule? Maybe you do pull off an upset against an LSU, or I wouldn't probably say Georgia right now. They got a lot of talent, but what if you did that, or what if you Florida State with their new quarterback, who is really, I don't think he's that good anyway. But like, what if you pull one off against them and maybe you go, 5-1 through that first half, and then you get to that second half and you pull off an upset win and you get your 8 wins. The trajectory is looking a lot better for you guys, and it's also looking a lot better for recruiting because we seen it happen last year. We had the number 3 class until the season started. All the losses mounted. The players wanted to go elsewhere. Negative recruiting happens. Think about what happens if you turn the tide and you win. Wouldn't it be like the ultimate story if Billy Napier had the hardest schedule in college football and somehow managed to keep his job on top of recruit a top 5 class, on top of DJ Lagway starting next year? That's going to be a lot of buzz.
Talk about a big momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There's been no momentum going into either of the off seasons.
Yeah.
They have fallen on their faces in mud each of the last 2 October, Novembers to get any kind of momentum. Now, I think you need to catch wins early because you're going to catch hands late. Like I look at Georgia, at Texas. I don't trust this team on the road. They've given me no reason to trust them on the road. So when you say FSU, I think, I think you can beat FSU. I'm not a huge believer in DJU, but you're playing on the road.
Yeah, that's scary.
And I don't know how the operation travels because it has not traveled well. It travels like milk outside in the truck bed.
This season, though, thankfully we do have a lot of home games against big time teams, and that's where the excitement comes in. Of we play very well in the Swamp, and we've got a great opportunity to get some big momentum rolling, and that's where it excites me. At Tennessee, in a weird way, doesn't concern me as much as the other away games. I don't know what it is.
It's probably more like a decade and a half of Tennessee finding new and innovative ways to lose to Florida. That could help.
It's the first road game, I think, 2 of the year. So, right? Mm-hmm. Or no, it's TAMU's on the road. And that game doesn't scare me either. I don't know what it is. I think it's just so much changes happened on that team, and it's our secondary defense that we're playing up against. Those things could be
traditional rival Texas A&M. As the SEC would like you to believe.
Yeah, that's true.
It's gonna be basically like the new Florida versus the old Florida.
Yeah, that's my point. It doesn't scare me. It's just we're playing our spring game again. Well, Nick, this has been a blast, man. I appreciate you coming on here and chit chatting with us. Couple of things. Who do you have winning the PGA Championship? Tell them where they can find you on Twitter, and then I know you have your YouTube channel as well, your show with your boys, Silk and Dan. So tell them where they could find you and when you guys go live. And then thanks again, man.
I mean, how do I pick against Scotty? I won money.
Back.
I won money on Scotty. I mean, he's just the best player in the world right now. I was watching some videos. I don't know when they were, but if it was like him and Tiger on the course, and just like the high level conversation between Tiger and Scotty, like sitting in a bunker and talking about how they'd shift their feet differently. I'm like, these guys are like, Scotty's on his like early 2000s Tiger-ish right now. Like that's
fun.
That's the kind of level that he's playing at. I do like. I mean, he's so good. He's just kind of like watching paint dry. In like an interview setting, I almost like Max Homa to like win some stuff because like Max is the antithesis of Scotty.
Yeah.
With his whole social
love him.
media game, and I think those two would be great going back and forth. And Max might
You get
even
that Phil and Tiger-esque with both of them, right? Because the one with the big personality, you're always trying to find that oldness, that we're trying to find the next Tiger, and Scotty has given us a glimpse of it. We've had the Roys, possibly the Jordan Spieth, but they all threw it away.
Yeah.
Homa, in my opinion, showed guts, which I was questioning if he had it. He showed guts at the Masters. Scotty was just better, and so he's got to get better, obviously, and he's already done it at the Masters, which I think was a big advantage. But Max found himself, and hopefully he can carry that over. Ward, what's his name? Ward Clark? What's Wyndham Clark. He's dialed in too. He's dialed in as well.
Yeah, he's good.
Name is on the tip of my tongue.
Shut up, Dave.
Max had a great line. Someone commented that ever since he's had his kid, he's been bad. He's like, no, actually, I've had lower rounds since my kid. If there's anyone to blame, my wife's been here the whole time. She's to blame for me not winning anything. He's great. But I'm gonna go with Scotty. That's a safe pick. You can follow me just at Delatorre, at my last name, Twitter. On3, we're running a $1 promotion. You can get all of our information there. And baseball's wrapping up. I've been saying this to everybody. If you're in town, if you're around, Florida's not going to host a regional this year. So if you're in town this week, it will be the last 3 games that Jack Caglione plays at home. So come out. Last chance to see Jack in orange and blue. That time has flown. So that's where I'll be. I'll be there, and then I'll be in Hoover in a couple weeks. And hopefully Florida's in a regional. I get to go travel and see some new baseball park.
Good
$1 to make. I was about to say $1 to make your Gators online, Holla.
$1. $1 gets you 1 month, and just try it out. If you like it, you can stay. If not, you're out 100 pennies. Not a bad deal.
Links in the description to the article that Nick wrote today, so it's great stuff. Go check it out. Nick, you're the man. I appreciate you. Go Gators. Yep. Gators by a million, man. Until next time, boss. I'll see you.
Appreciate y'all.
Nick Delatorre, ladies and gentlemen. Great stuff there. Dave, that was a lot of info. We're not done, boys. We're still rocking and rolling here. Hell of a show thus far. We're going to talk about some flip watch. This is a Keith Napier article that I loved, and we've been kind of hinting towards a few flips. We didn't get Nick to pronounce the young man's name. That was your job.
Hey, it's all good, man. I'm the king of that. Let's go, baby. I'm ready.
Yeah. Real quick though, public service announcement, boys and girls. This is urgent. All right. Think you've mastered the look in sweatpants and joggers. You're one step away from pajamas in public. Your significant other said you look like a slob. It's time to show your sexy ass in jeans, boys. You know we got to pay the bills. Okay. Shout out to the Perfect Jean. If you take anything from our show today, it's the Perfect Jean isn't another pair of stiff, uncomfortable, nut crushing. They've cracked the code to solving all your denim difficulties. The Perfect Jean makes great looking, perfect fitting jeans that are as comfortable as sweatpants and more stretchy than a kangaroo's pouch. It's made from a special denim fabric that's super soft, just like sweatpants or joggers, but doesn't make you look like a slob. And look, we've been wearing them. I wear them literally religiously every single day. Like, we got a little flack a little bit because we were talking about our asses and nuts last time, Dave, but they make it look good. They feel good. I wear them all. I love them. That's why I love working with companies and companies being able to support us that I genuinely support.
Hey, you know what? My wife, when she looks at me in those jeans, and look, I do a lot of squats. And, I'm just saying.
Are the numbers up, Dave? Is that what you're trying to tell? I mean, kids show, but are the numbers up?
Hey, the numbers are up, man. It's better than Manscaped, all right? I love Manscaped, too.
Unbelievable. I love it, dude. I love it. All right, boys. It's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchange when you use the code HIGHTOP15 at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with promo code HIGHTOP15. After your purchase, they'll ask you, where'd you hear about them? Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Fuck your khakis and get the perfect jean. Look, boys, you get to pick and choose how you want them. The size, the waist. I like to wear boots. I've told you before. I like that I can add extra length because it wraps around my boot. So I know some people are kind of little at awe of the price at $79. It seems like a lot, but they're extremely durable. But you get 15% off your first one.
Like apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur.
This guy goes, "Do you have a kangaroo pouch I can get into for comparison?" That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Hey, never know.
All right, boys, let's get into Billy's flip chart here. Billy's out here cooking, and like I told you, it feels like we've gotten a slow start to things. You've got kind of kids committing all over the place. We're going to get into the USC stuff because we know they landed a bunch of guys for a weekend or so. But right now, our top 3-4 targets that Florida seems to be heavily pursuing that we've heard a lot about. First one being Solomon Thomas. This is a name that a lot of people are talking about. And what's funny is his comment we talked about on Monday is FSU is in the portal a lot. Nick just said it, and then I think like a day later they landed an offensive lineman in the portal. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense. I like the possibility to land Solomon Thomas. It looks like they're in the running for Peyton Joseph. Could be just a clean swap. So that's definitely someone to watch. Dallas Wilson. I know we got our Oregon Duck show. 5-star wide receiver. I keep talking about it. We've got to land a guy like this, a 5-star talent that just knocks your socks off with a DJ Lagway, with the line that we're building. So I think we are getting him on for an official visit, which is exciting. He has visited a few times. So this one excites me here. And then we got 2 quarterbacks in Keelan Russell, who I would prefer, surely because of his size, 6'2", 195, fits the quarterback mold from Duncanville, obviously produces a lot of talent, currently committed to SMU. Unless I don't know how we're losing to SMU right now, but it is what it is. And then Terrell Jones, 6 foot. His size is what concerns me, but his ability to play, if you go read about him, watch his film, he's incredible. Just got an invite to Elite 11. We seem to be making some major headway on him from FSU. Real quick, I spoke about it on Monday with Will Griffin, the quarterback from 2026. This quarterback class, in my opinion, for 2025 feels like and this isn't a shot, but it's going to be like a bridge gap or a leap year gap, just given what DJ Lagway is and what he's going to be for Florida football. Will Griffin is the DJ Lagway, in my opinion, of 2026. The DJ Lagway of this class is already kind of scooped up. They're the top 10 guys. And look, these 2 quarterbacks are nothing to hang your head on, but the splash that DJ make, I just don't think you're going to land that back to back. But these 2 kids, they're great in whichever we go with. I know you're kind of leaning for Russell currently, right? Or is it Jones?
Yeah, I mean, right now, when you look at it, and just if you piece everything together, Tramel Jones looks like the guy that would, if there was a potential flip to happen, would be the guy that would flip over there. And it also opens up the doors to wide receivers that he plays with, like Jamie French and some of those other guys that are on his team. So it's like, do you benefit from taking him in, regardless of whether you want to take him or not? I'm sure the staff wants to take him anyway, but do you benefit from having him since he plays with some of these guys and he has a relationship with some of these guys, these 5-star wide receivers, some of these high top 50 wide receivers? Is it worth taking a guy like this, which I'm not going to say he's not going to be good or bad because we don't know that. He does have pretty good stats. He's passed for 3,195 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not bad stats, not DJ Lagway stats, but they're good stats in high school. So, do you benefit taking somebody like him? And if you wanted to, maybe later on down the road, get a 1-year portal guy, maybe if you want to have somebody that maybe could back up Lagway, if you wanted to start him, something like that, maybe you could go that route. Like I said, the game has changed with the transfer portal. If you do miss on a certain amount of positions and all that, it's not really the end of the world. And Lagway's here for 4 years anyway. Let's hope 3 because he's that good. Take a guy like this. Maybe he turns out to be a lot better than what you thought. We've had quarterbacks in the past that we've taken that weren't highly rated guys that turned out a little bit better. So, maybe this guy does fit your system. Of course, you got Keelan Russell sitting out there with SMU. His SMU commitment seems pretty strong there. He does talk about, though, like, he still wants to take visits. He still, has his eye sets on other schools. So maybe you can pull something off at the end. But I've also heard rumors that they might take 2 quarterbacks. I don't know if that would be the thing or not, since they went into the portal to get a couple. But it's like I said, it's recruiting. You never know what happens, especially when it gets down to early signing day, national signing day, and anything can change, man. Like, Florida has a good season. A lot of these kids that are already committed, the eyes are going to be turned.
There's like the big momentum we were just talking about could flip very quickly. So this list that I put in order here, this is the list that I put this order together based on my feeling of possibility and want. Just so we're all clear here. Could be wrong, but I'm just letting you know why the numbers are there. Isaiah Gibson and Hilton Drake, those 2, I like them a lot. One of them possibly flipping back to us. I like them both possibly not ending up at USC. They're part of that weird big weekend that USC had. Didn't really make any sense. Didn't feel right. Hilton Drake I felt really big on Florida. There were some talks that we could land him. Then we had that issue with his friend. I can't think of the kid's name at the moment, that we committed to us, but we withdrew his offer. Isaiah Gibson was visiting, had a great time. I believe he was teammates with Peyton Joseph. Peyton Joseph is no longer there, so there was talk. a lot of noise there. So those two guys are to watch. Elijah Melendez, linebacker. I feel like we're always in it with Miami and a linebacker, so this just feels par for the course. And then the last three here, don't know too much about them. Javion Hillson, I put them on there because it's another FSU guy. 3 FSU guys we're trying to flip. You love that competition. And then 2 Auburn guys. We kind of got into a little bit of a bickering with them last year at the close. So it'll be interesting to see. And Malik Autry is somebody to definitely keep an eye on. I probably could have put him higher from how many times he's visited Florida and is also, I think, believed set to have an official visit. Once he gets a little bit closer, we'll definitely do a list. It's moving so much and so frequently. Like June 7th and 14th seem to be the 2 big weekends. One of those weekends I'm going to be gone on my cruise. So hopefully it happens like last year and it's all in that 2nd and 3rd weekend and I don't miss anything. But we'll see how that.
Do you need me to buy a spacesuit for you just in case something happens, man?
We might gotta figure something out. Might just buy me the Wi-Fi package on the cruise ship. I saw some people like, "Hey, enjoy it." I'm like, I will enjoy it, but if ship drops, like I enjoy this too. And nothing better than the whole, the Caribbean as the background for the show. So
I already got the lane chain, man, so it's all good. I can just wear that.
Exactly. I love it.
But the thing that I noticed the most, and the thing that I think will, and me and Gator Dave, we talk about it too in his Gators Breakdown Discord. If you guys haven't checked that out, check that out too. A lot of these kids that committed to USC, if you look at the commitment list, they're all from like Florida, Georgia. How many of those guys really actually stick in that class? Do they really want to go all the way to the West Coast like that? I mean, they may stick into the class, but I just don't see all of them staying at USC.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Regardless of what their record looks like.
What I love seeing here too, again, we've talked about it plenty of times in the show. Like we hate FSU and we hate Miami, but I enjoy when all 3 teams are successful. It makes it more exciting, and it's fun to see us in these battles with these schools. With 3 with FSU, FSU has definitely ramped up their recruiting. You heard Del Toro said that. Yes, they're heavy on the portal, but they've gotten better with their recruiting, and they did well last year. They slipped at the end there with losing a few, but are getting much better. And then just before the show, we had a little breaking here. I'm going to let Dave pronounce his name, but top 5 wide receiver, 6'1", 6'2", I believe, from IMG. You know what's funny? What's his name, Dave?
Donovan.
It's the last name that'll throw you for a blender there.
The last name. Olugbode.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Olugbode.
That's impressive. Yeah, I get butchered enough by not being able to pronounce the names properly. But this was one of the names that we talked about it before. But 247, it was a glitch in the system, but it was like he committed to Florida. This is somebody that has been highly looked after and sought after from Florida. And I feel like Florida's in a good position here, but you see this is a lot of talent. Again, only one other SEC school, Mizzou, but Mizzou has been cooking on the trail. And those other 3 schools, though, outside of Washington does not concern me. That group is in a weird place right now. USC is kind of getting who they want. Dan Lanning is on an absolute burner. So
he's on a tear.
Golly, dude, that guy, it's like he's just kind of snaps a finger. He's like, yeah, it's what I want. I'm going to get it. So, look, this is it's going to be a hell of a recruiting battle. We'll see how it plays out, but love seeing that Florida's in this top 5 with this top talent from IMG Florida. So get back in that IMG train. I don't think we had much last year, if I can recall. So,
yeah, I'm just wondering if he picks Florida over Florida since there's a Hayes Fawcett graphic up there.
That guy, he plays the game. We have to quit biting into it, boys. That's where this is got to stop.
You know what's funny though? I don't even hate Hayes Fawcett. I just mess with him.
No, I know it's fun. Boys, we had almost 360 people in here on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. There's 350 now. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Glad to have all of you here. We got East Coast Gridiron says Dan Lanning is that dude. What's up, guys? Deshaun says we're leading for this wide receiver on 3. Yeah, I thought we were. Rob S says we need to get Saudi money. Just tell him we'll do the turnover. Andrew Apple, what's going on, Big Die? Muddy Waters, how you doing, big fella? K Ziegler hit the damn like button, y'all. I love it. Freshly Jones, High Top Sports Recruiting. What's up, codes? Good to see all you boys. Steven Harris, what's going on, boss? Good to see you. Mr. Bassman, Rob S. Love it. I you know what, guys? I've got to do somebody. I saw a duck race on there. I meant to do a duck race tonight. I've got a signed football from Danny Warfel. I'm going to give away to all of our members. Yeah.
Wow.
I've been wanting to do that, do a duck race for you guys. I was thinking about doing like a Twitter following, whatever, but the members are incredible. You guys being part of this, having your little pig next to you and being part of the Discord. Haven't shown you all enough appreciation as of recently, and that's on me. So I want to do that, and we'll probably do that next week. We're going to do it soon, and then we'll obviously have the big giveaway right before the season starts. I love those. I just enjoy being able to, because as a kid, I always loved autograph things. I loved memorabilia. I've grown, I wouldn't say out of it, but I've got a different appreciation for it. I enjoy seeing people light up when they get, like, because I know how it feels. So it's so cool being able to, send those things off to people and then frame it and hang it up. So we'll definitely be doing that.
That's what was so cool about the meet and greet for Florida Victorious, man. You really got to meet all the players, have them sign any I think you could bring like 2 items of memorabilia from them to sign. That's a pretty cool event, especially like when you have the tables all round up. I know it was a little hot, but man, interview a lot of these players, right? So like if I'm a normal fan, like that's exciting to me. Like for me to be able to get a ton of autographs and just go in a circle full of players and just talk to them, interact with them, maybe take a picture with them. It's awesome. And just going home with the memorabilia, like Cross just signed my shirt. I'm not washing that thing. I'm getting that thing framed.
Now, look, I got to get Cross sign my jersey, but that's good. K6 said just ship it here. Do me a solid, Sheldon. I got you, Zig. You got you. Well, boys, go ahead.
Real quick. Let me give a shout out to University Traditions. Just released 3 new hats. So go check my Twitter out there. I retweeted it there. So.
Oh, hell yeah. Florida hats?
Yep. Florida hats.
Oh, good shit. Tradition. What a great show, boys. I love you. Great seeing you. Appreciate you hanging out with us 300 strong for over an hour. Headed to Disney with the wifey and the kiddo. His first time this weekend. Excited, pumped to have that opportunity. I'm sure something's going to happen the moment that I step into Disney. We'll get a commit and I'll have to leave. Poor kid. But you guys be good. I love you. Till next time, I'm Shelton. That's the Swodermeister. Peace and love.
I just report the news.